Welcome to the lesson on complex number operations. In order to put complex numbers into our calculator and to get a complex number as an answer, we need to change the mode on our calculator. So type the mode button, which is just to the right of the blue button. Once you do that, you're going to scroll down till where it says the row that says real and then A plus BI. That's the complex mode. So we need to scroll down to that row and then over to the second choice. So to scroll down, you press the down arrow key. Looks like we're going to press it 7 times. Just keep pressing it till it highlights real, and then we're going to scroll to the right to highlight the A plus BI. Now we need to pick it by pressing enter. And now you'll see that the A plus BI, which is the complex form of a standard form of a complex number, we want to pick that. We've got it. So let's come out of this mode and press second, which is the blue button, and then mode again, which will quit the screen that we're on. Now we're ready to plug in our first equation. We want to subtract two complex numbers. So we're going to press parentheses. All we do is type it in like we see it. Parentheses 3 plus 2, and now there is an I button on the calculator. It's in blue right here above the decimal point. Because it's in blue, it's that second function. We color code this, so we press the blue button, which is the second function, and then the decimal point, and then an I will type onto our calculator. Press the close parentheses button. Now we're going to subtract. Make sure that you press subtract and not the negative button. You'll get an error if you press a negative button here. Parentheses, open parentheses, 6 minus, again press the subtract button because we are subtracting, minus 7, and now we press the I button again, which is the blue button, second, and then the decimal point to get to I, and close the parentheses, and press enter. And this is the correct answer because when you add or subtract complex numbers, you add the real portion of the number, so 3 minus 6 is negative 3, and you add the imaginary portion, which is 2 minus negative 7, which would be positive 99. Our second equation involves multiplication, so that means we have to simplify a little bit. If we were doing this without a calculator, we would end up with an I squared when we multiplied 2I times 10I. But the calculator will simply do that for you. You don't have to simplify anything. All you have to do is type it in. So we're going to press 2, and then we have to press the I button. So we have to press the blue button and then the decimal point, so 2I, and then open parentheses. We're going to multiply that by the binomial 5 plus 10I. So 5, then plus 10, so 1, 0, and now the I button one more time, second decimal point, and close your parentheses. And once you press enter, this is the simplified form, and it is in the correct standard form of a complex number. The third example is where we're going to multiply a binomial times a binomial, two complex numbers. Again, if we were doing this by hand, we would FOIL and then we would simplify the I squared. The calculator will do all this for you. All you have to do is type it in the way that you see it. Open parentheses, 1 minus 2I, 2 second, or the blue button, decimal point, close your parentheses. You don't have to press times. The calculator understands that a left parentheses and then immediately followed by a right parentheses means multiply. That's part of the programming of the calculator. So we're going to press the right parentheses. This time we do need to press negative 4. So instead of subtract 4, because you'll get an error if you do that, you want to press the negative button, which is right here to the left of the enter button. So negative 4. So if you get an error button after you've typed this in, all you have to do is scroll back and go back to that point and type over the subtraction sign and put a negative in its place. Plus 8, now I, so we press second and then the I button and close the parentheses, and again the calculator will multiply and simplify by adding like terms and simplify the I squared, and there's your answer, 12 plus 16I. Okay, so when we multiply or add or subtract complex numbers on the calculator will do all the work for you. All you have to do is simply plug it in. Division is slightly different. You do have to do the work for the calculator a little bit. The calculator will not allow you to divide by a complex number So we have to do the work. In other words, how do you get an imaginary number out of the denominator? We multiply by the conjugate. So when we have 7 divided by 3i, we're going to multiply numerator and denominator by 3i. So here's how we have to plug this in to get our final answer. We're going to type 7 times, or parentheses, 3i. So 3 second I, and then close the parentheses and get an answer. So obviously that's going to be 21i. Then we type the denominator in. We multiply 3i times itself, so 3 second, and then the decimal point, which is the I, parentheses or times. We're going to multiply it by itself, second I, close the parentheses and get an answer for that. So we get, basically we've multiplied the numerator and denominator by the same value. Now we need to put it back in fraction form. So you could either type it in, 21i divided by -9, or here's another way. I can scroll up and highlight the 21i, then press enter, and that's how you tell the calculator to pick that value. Then I'm going to divide that by, now I'm going to divide it by that -9. Again, I could just type in the -9, or I can scroll up and grab it. That means to highlight it, press enter to choose it, and now I've divided 21i by -9. I'm going to press enter, and I get this big long answer. It's a decimal. Well, I don't like that decimal because originally the equation was in fraction form, so I want to change it back to fraction form. The way to do that is you press the math button, which is directly underneath the green button on the far left. The first choice says arrow and then frac. All these arrow means is you want to change something to this form. So I want to change my answer to fraction form, so I'm going to pick that. See how it's highlighted? I'm going to pick it by pressing enter. Now notice the screen says answer, then arrow fraction. That's the calculator asking you. You want to take your last answer and change it to a fraction. You say yes by pressing enter. And here is the final answer, -7/3 I. The second example, 9 divided by 1 plus 6i. Again, we have to trick the calculator. It will not let you divide complex numbers. So we have to multiply the numerator, 9, times the conjugate of the denominator. The conjugate of the denominator is 1 minus 6i. So I'm going to type in 1, subtract 6i. So second decimal point, close parentheses. I got to get an answer, so I press enter. I'm going to either write that down, or again we can go back and do what we did on the previous problem by dividing them. So we have the numerator now changes to 9 minus 54i. The denominator I'm going to multiply 1 plus 6i, which is the current denominator, times its conjugate, which is 1 minus 6i. So here we go. We got to put in parentheses 1. So open parentheses 1 plus 6i. That's the current denominator. So second decimal point, close the parentheses. We got to multiply that by the conjugate, so that means open parentheses. We're going to multiply by 1 minus 6i. 1, subtract 6, second I, and close the parentheses. Now when you multiply a conjugate of two complex numbers, the I term is going to disappear or simplify out. That's the whole purpose of multiplying by the conjugate is to get rid of the I. So don't be concerned when I press enter and you get a number, because that's what you're supposed to do. I didn't mean to, let me go backwards. I didn't mean to press another open parentheses. Now let's just press enter. And the answer is 37. But now that's not our answer, because remember we were dividing. So we need to scroll back up and pick the numerator's answer, which was 9 minus 54i. So press enter, scroll up, highlight it, press enter to choose it, and it moves it down to the screen where we want it. Now we're going to divide that by 37. Press enter, and we have this long answer. I need to edit that. That's wrong.
That's wrong?
Yes. I just need to go back to after I press the 37, like as I'm scrolling up, because I needed to put it in parentheses. Because the calculator, I mean, I can go on and say the reason why this is wrong is da-da-da-da, but I should have.
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
So,
Just up to, I'm going to delete this. And when I finish the 37 right here, just before we're about to divide them.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay, now that we've got the numerator simplified and the denominator simplified, we now need to divide them. So because the numerator is a binomial, you have to use parentheses. So I'm going to open a parentheses. Scroll down. I'm going to open a parentheses, and then I'm going to scroll up here. Now you could type in 9 minus 54i if you want to. I'm just going to scroll up using the up arrow. I'm going to highlight the 9 minus 54i. I'm going to choose it by pressing enter. And then I need to close my parentheses. And the reason I have parentheses is because I want to make sure that I'm dividing both terms by that denominator. Without a parentheses, you're not going to get the correct answer. Now we're going to divide, and if we're going to divide by that 37, I can type it in, or I can scroll up there and grab it, press enter to choose it, and now we're going to press enter. Now you see these big long decimal answers. Again, we don't like decimal answers. Maybe you do like decimal answers, but if you want to change that to fractional form, you press math, and again you're going to press the first button, which happens to be changing it to a fraction, so press enter. Look at the screen, it says change the answer to a fraction. To say yes, you press enter again, and here it is in fraction form, 9 over 37 minus 54 over 37i. The last example is when you raise an I to a power, any power. The calculator will simplify that for you. All you have to do is type it in. So we're going to press second and I, which is the decimal point, and now we need to raise it to a power. So the exponent button is this upside down V, so we're going to press that, and then we type in our exponent, which is 10. Now remember that powers of I will simplify to 4 different things. Your possibilities are either I, -1, +1, or -I. So if you get anything other than that, then you've gotten the wrong answer. Maybe you've typed something in wrong. So notice the little arrow key again is the little triangle. I'm still in the exponent button, so I want to press the right arrow key to get out of the exponent button. Then press enter, and there's my answer, -1. That concludes our lesson on complex number operations.